Taking hyperbole, poetry is on the way. Taking hyperbole, the poetry kettle is whistling, yay. Cake and hyperbole, poetry and life and death and discussion. Sometimes hyperbole, sometimes hyperbole, and cake poetry is on the way.
Hello.
Here we are.
You know,
Poetry
we
is
should
here.
do the back scene of us dancing as we're ready for this to start.
Yeah, we should.
Amy and I can always see each other before we actually come on screen, and so we're both always jamming out. Amy actually knows the words. I forget words to songs all the time. She wrote it, so
I wrote it, but it's not to say that I don't constantly. I'm very aware of having done like little 1-minute segments of songs I've written on Instagram, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'll just post this tomorrow." I don't know the words yet. So every time I'm driving the car that day, I'm like, I'm going to sing that song until I know, damn it, what are the words? You know, and stuff like that. So that by the time I have time to record, I'm like, okay, I think I know it. Or I have the words in front of me, or both, because it's really, you don't think of that. You're like, yeah, I wrote that song. It's my child. Of course I know every word. And no, not true.
Yeah.
Not at all. In this case, yes.
That makes me feel better because I am a terrible ad-libber. So I listen to music and then I just make up my own words. Like, you know, that Imagine Dragons song. I actually don't remember the real words, but for me, it's we are made of meat. You are made of meat. You know,
I don't know the words either, but yeah.
I like the idea that we're all made of meat. I mean,
well, and we are.
To me. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and I'll do that with my own.
Be a roast at any time.
Yes, everybody, let that put things into perspective. Write a poem, leave a mark, you know.
Don't get in a famine around Angela's house because she's already been singing You're Made of Meat.
Oh, that's right. The idea is already there. And they say you lose all of your, like, you know, niceties when you're starving. And you just are concerned with survival.
I will admit, I will be upfront that I am already cannibal curious. Like Canna Curious will say. So I just what do we taste like? Just a finger, maybe. I just want to. It's curiosity. It's not morbid.
Have you seen the very first episode of Bob's Burgers, where the youngest child, who's like 9 or something, spreads a rumor that her dad's burger restaurant is human meat, and so like the health department comes, and then finally at the end they've like lost all this business, and this giant bus arrives of like, we're a curious eaters group, are you still serving human meat? Which he never was, but he's like, we'll pay $50 a burger or whatever you know.
Okay
all was well.
Well, I want to welcome everybody that's in chat right now. We actually had people waiting for us, which was kind of like, oh my goodness. And of course I had the time wrong. Because remember, I think it must have been between last episode and this one that we decided to make it 2, so that it kind of matched the Poetry Live on Instagram. Yeah. But I never went back and actually changed the scheduled time of this. So it's too organized for this episode. But so thank you everybody who's been waiting since noon. We're a little bit I know I am kind of like, woo, people were waiting. Wow. So
I know.
We will try to be wait worthy. I mean, no promises, but
we will definitely pimp everything that we do, since we have a sort of a crowd. Yeah,
exactly. So, but I know we have James from SPOFEST is in chat, and I want to make sure I've got everything right. Yep, James from SPOFEST. SPOFEST is an event open to everybody. It's an open mic event. And I told him he can share the links in chat if he wants. I'm also going to share, it's on my Facebook, but I'll also share the link like after we're done. I'll put it in comments. But that is a super fun event. I went there last month. Everybody reads poetry. You can either read it from a prompt that they had. And I think one of the prompts was phobias, you know, so like you write something based on, and there was 3 different prompts you could choose from. Or if you forgot, which is kind of what I did, you just read something of yours. And then they also have something called First Draft, which is where they give you a prompt and you ad lib. So my prompt was, you're in the elevator with somebody really famous. What's the story of that? So, and it was a ridiculous story on my part. It was not. That story will never be published. Alas, it was a terrible story. But it was really fun. It's good to like kind of get that like off the cuff kind of imagination thing going. And then if you get stuck, you have a ticket out because you just say, and then the dragons ate them.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it was super
No
fun
shame.
event. Yeah,
I'm writing
I
it
think
down.
it's the last Tuesday of every month. So, but I
Last
will share that
Tuesday
link in chat
month.
after we're done. But yeah, super fun event. And now we're doing Exquisite Corpses, which, well, they were already doing Exquisite Corpses. That episode was the first meeting that they were doing an Exquisite Corpse in. And so I just kind of came along and was like, oh, I love Exquisite Corpses. So next month, or at the end of June, I get to be the corpse wrangler.
Your corpse wrangling skills, word has gotten around. Angela can take disparate lines of poetry and just, and then they become glorious.
I do love wrangling a corpse. And they're doing it a little bit different. So they're actually doing it a nice, like pretty easy, comfortable way. They're sending everybody in chat, like as you read, they send you the last person's line so that you can riff off it. And so it's all going in order. Whereas like when I was doing it before, I'm trying to like this line and this POV and, so it makes it a lot simpler, which is good because it's a live event. Like you have to have that corpse done at the end of the event. So.
Okay, so like I could do it from, instead of my phone, I could do it from my computer, but it doesn't matter if I don't show up because I don't have a webcam on my computer.
Yeah, you can just have.
Yep.
Yeah, you can just have your whatever profile picture, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever shows up normally. But yeah. But yeah, super fun.
It sounds awesome.
It was. And yeah, James just confirmed, which is OIC Studios in chat. It is the last Tuesday of the month.
Yes. All right. Well, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it was. And they had a ton of people show up. Like I want to say, now this is me and math. These are not reliable skills. I want to say it was like 20 people that was in there reading.
Man, okay, crowd, come on over to our boat and let us share the poetry.
Exactly. And I've seen Nina in chat. Pete Kelly is in chat. I think Anton Kanker is in chat or is showing up. I had multiple messages of people going, what the heck? It says 12 o'clock. I was like, oh, oops.
On Instagram, I think we publicized it as 2 o'clock. It's just that the countdown on the YouTube thing was off.
Yeah, I never went back and changed that. So
there's a lot of details, and Angela's had a lot going on. Angela, tell us about some of your fabulousness.
Oh, it has been quite the month. I think since we last met, and it really feels like about 6 months ago to me since we've done this. Went to StokerCon, won 2 Bram Stokers. Oh, they're actually right there behind me.
I see their little towers.
Yep. Oh, yeah, they're super cool. I know before StokerCon, I was kind of like, because I'd been nominated before, but I'd never won. So before, I was kind of going, you know what? Just being nominated is a win. You don't really need the little statue to feel justified as a writer. I feel honored just to be nominated. And then I touched the statues and something short-circuited in my brain. Like, these pictures are mine. Everybody go away. I want all the statues.
They are so cool. The little door opens and tells the name of the winner and what the category is, but they are little haunted houses. They're glorious.
And I will say that's kind of where I got really excited to get one. Like 6 years ago, I came to StokerCon and I think I've told you the story. I was trying to get rid of horror because it doesn't really pay. I was trying to write Bible studies instead, which do pay.
Did not know that. Oh my.
Yeah. I was writing children's books and Bible studies, but everything kept coming out to be horror. Like what I would write. Well, I mean, I do have children's books, but they were all like the Christmas spiders, the literary lizard,
Girl.
And I was trying to clean horror out of my system. So I went to the first StokerCon and I was like, it's this or nothing. Like, show me my path. And I left there really, really like, oh, these are my people. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Sometimes
Yeah. So that was that. But I'd seen my first Stokers They let us walk up and look at the table where they were. And Jack Ketchum had won that year, and Linda D. Addison had one. And I can't remember who else. I think it was 2016, somewhere around there. But I was kind of like, what are these knickknack things up here? And I looked at them and I was like, oh, they have tentacles coming out the window and little gargoyles and dead people. I need one of these or my life will not be complete. So
you got two.
If I never, so this year I'm like, yes, and if I never get another one, I feel fulfilled. But yeah, next year I'm going to be like, I want more.
More little haunted.
Give me all the statues.
Gonna make a trophy. They win for making trophies or award statues. But oh my goodness, I love it. I just want to go in. It's like I'm gonna have little fantasies of like going into that house and
That's why I want to take it into pottery and make a mold of it, and then make like little planters or something based on it. Not a stoker, but it would be
a haunted house. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I'll actually grab one so I can kind of show it close up. We can see the little tentacles. And in chat, Nina agrees with me. The statue does matter, and Pete is, I think, a little bit aghast that I was trying to clear horror out of my system. I know, Pete. I was being lured by the money because Bible studies really do make a ton of money.
I have bought so many like in my past years, I would buy so many Bible study books, and similarly to you, as someone who like did a bunch of Bible study books, at the same time, I would try to write children's stories, and they would always come out with like ghosts and like zombies, and I'm like, what am I? And I was a nanny at the time. I'm like, I kind of fancied myself somebody who was good with kids and wanted to have a bunch of kids, and I'm like, why do they keep being vampires in here? Well, because sometimes that's awesome. And as we've learned, if you can deal with horror in like fiction, you can deal with difficult things. They have studied on it. You are better equipped to handle a crisis in real life, such as like pandemic or zombie attack or what have you.
That's funny that you mentioned that, because actually what one of the Stokers was for was a short nonfiction piece in Nina Darkangela's Siren's Call magazine. And it was about horror writers, architects of hope. And I cited that study. That was like the basis of it. But kind of like in the way of, why don't we get paid to do this study? Because we already knew that. These guys must have made so much money.
Yeah. I know. They got grants and cushy offices. And
so that's what happens when you actually study in school, kids, instead of just go off and be a horror writer.
Yeah. You don't have
paid for your ideas.
Fun. Yeah.
But we have way more fun.
We do. And similarly, I mentioned, because I was going to say how I started a podcast like boom on the spur of the moment, like 2 weeks ago or something. I was like, finally, I'm just going to do one because I'm in a bad mood and I want to make myself be in a good mood by talking about things that make me in a good mood. And one of them, I cannot remember exactly. I cannot remember which episode it is. I've released 3 technically, but the second one is in 2 parts. One of them, it must be the first one. I think I talk about a werewolf, and there was a moment where there was a time in my life where I constantly had terrifying werewolf dreams, and just like really weirdly, one day I went to the library where I worked in Columbia, and my first job of the day was always to like put the new books on the shelf in the new books area so that people could come, because some people would just go to the new books. And so one of them was, honest to goodness, how to survive a werewolf attack. Because I know that like it was probably just, niche, or writer's guide or something.
I think I remember that book.
I friggin' checked it out and read it and had never a werewolf dream again, because I was prepared. Oh, if I have a werewolf dream, I'll just make sure there's a freezer full of meat and, iron chains and such like. And or flee the premises, or, but how do you flee? They're not going to change it. There were all these ways. I'm like, I stopped dreaming about werewolves coming to get me because I knew what to do if they came to get me. So that's just, horror can prepare you because you get a little plan of action, or a library of plans of actions in your mind. Yep. In your files.
Yeah, that is, I think that that's why horror is having kind of like a golden dawn. We've kind of been the outcast, always the 5th popular genre of 5. The last.
Right.
And then suddenly we're like, people can't get enough of horror. And I think it's after the pandemic, people kind of went, oh, snap. Bad stuff happens, and it's good to be prepared. And you can't sit in your house and just do that. Like that scene of, it's a comic, like a joke or whatever, and it's the dog sitting and he's having coffee and the house is in flames all around him. Like I think even the coffee's in flames. And then the caption is, everything is fine, everything is fine. And that's kind of, yeah, I think
The
that's
power
where
of
we
positive
were.
thinking.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, the power of
Yeah.
positive thinking as you turn into ashes.
Yeah.
So, but I think
It's
you
not
have to
gonna
be
get you.
positive. It's not ignoring that something is happening, but the positive thing is I can get through this.
Yes. I'm capable.
Yeah.
And there are strategies and
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
I've thought
and
about.
even the recognition, I may not get through this, but you know
Uh-huh.
what? I'm damn well going to do my best.
Yep. Yep. Life is full of people. I mean, history is full of people who, they didn't make it through that horrible thing, but somebody else may have because of them, or they
Yeah.
still left good things
Inspired
behind
somebody
them.
or something.
Yeah.
And also we know as people that are fans of horror, don't wear white t-shirts because they're stab magnets. I
Yeah,
bring
really,
this up
gosh.
in that article, like as in, yes, obviously, if you wear white t-shirts, somebody's going to stab you.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
The blood shows up so well. You're like a beacon. I just watched Scream and Scream 2 last night, and I just can't get friggin' Billy out of my mind with his white t-shirt.
Stab magnet.
Nope.
I would make white t-shirts that say stab magnet on them, but none of us would ever wear them, and normies would not get it. So
they wouldn't. You'd be dead. I wouldn't even sleep in that because no, bad stuff happens. Yeah. So, well, heck, should we do you want to grab your Stoker Award
oh
so we can
yeah,
get a
yeah. I
closer
was
look
looking
at
into that
it?
again. Nina says essential information. We're still Thursday's child, Angela. They're just letting us see the Friday sunrise. And Nina says she would wear a stab magnet shirt. So Amy, as the person that does make shirts and stuff.
What I do is I get those glittery letters. Go get your award statue
All
and
right.
I'll explain my process. Okay, so I get those glittery letters from Hobby Lobby and spell out hot poet or stab magnet or, hello chuckling vampire and just iron them on. Traditionally a black t-shirt, because it's a cool look, but I would have to do a white. What color should we have? Glittery pink on white, stab magnet. So yeah, the plan is in motion. The wheels are in motion, I'm sure. So here we go. Everybody send your sizes to the chat.
All right. So that was our commercial break.
Yes. I can always fill up an empty space with blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's see what you got.
Oh, okay. And so I made sure I selected the short nonfiction one because this is essentially Nina's as well. I mean, she's kind of responsible for this happening. So hopefully you can read it in the thing, and it says the door. Well, it's not very focusy, but yeah, so it's got all the information. It says Horror Writers Association Annual Bram Stoker Award 2021 Superior Achievement in Short Nonfiction for Horror Writers, Architects of Hope, and then the name. But yeah, and then the details of this thing, though, are what really got me.
I know. I love it.
Look at the little adorable gargoyles. It's so cute.
Just
and
a blessing.
And little guys like this little guy creeping. Where is he going? That's the whole story right there. What is he doing? Is he like a little peeping Tom demon or
what's
what?
His role?
And then you got the little corpse guy coming out there. I assume it's a corpse. It's a little undead guy. Making my own stories here.
Yes.
And tentacles everywhere. This always reminds me of Beetlejuice. This guy.
Oh my gosh, and the architecture, come on. Oh,
yeah.
So gothic. Oh my
So
goodness.
I am motivated by stuff like this. That is literally what motivated me to try to be a better writer and learn all the things. It's like I want the cool little creepy house.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. It's so cool. I love it. I live in town. I'll just come visit it now and again and be like,
anytime. Anytime.
Thank
They're
you.
hefty too. You actually could kill somebody with that.
See? Bonus. And you've thought that through. You will not be caught off guard.
Because I've got two, one for each hand. And if the perpetrator knocks one out, see, now I'm going to say perpetrator because I was at police academy before. It would have been monster. But we all know that I would be friends with the monster and I would adopt it into my home. But if it's a perpetrator, I've got stabby stabs each hand. I'll knock you out.
Yes. Exactly. You're ready.
I am.
may come through the
Yep.
door at night.
Yep. So yeah, that
Awesome.
was fun and exciting, and thank goodness it's over because it was exhausting, and but it was super
Yep.
cool. Probably one of the favorite memories of that is driving home, and I think I've told you about this. Driving home, and that was the lunar eclipse that night. And so we were driving through Colorado coming back to Kansas
Mm.
City. This is
Mhm.
this is me driving. This is what it looks like.
That's what the car looked like going
Yep,
down the road.
as it was
Yep.
going through the prairie, and we
Yeah.
watched the whole lunar eclipse just unfold. I mean, it was right there, perfectly
Just in
framed
the
in the
windshield.
windshield. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. That
yeah.
is just like it knew. It's like the
Yeah.
universe knew this is what's just happened. Let's just frame out this
Yeah.
eclipse right here.
Yep.
Position. Oh, I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know
So
I love the moon. Mm.
it was pretty
Mm.
fantastic. And it started eclipsing as it rose. So it was the huge red, where, yes, technically I know it has not changed size, but my
Yes, well, I
brain
know what you mean.
says
Yeah,
it is huge. It is the size of the earth,
yeah.
it's
It's pretty huge
eclipsing the
anyway.
sky.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
then it started doing the eclipse when it was that huge. So it's just an amazing, I didn't
What a
bother trying to take
great.
pictures of it because years
Mm.
of experience have told me it really is super small. And
Yeah,
isn't that a weird thing how that,
it is. It's
yeah,
so people with the monster cameras, people who do that as a profession, they can
mhm,
get something. But I got my camera phone, and it's not up to the
yeah,
task. And that's the way I like it. I don't want to take work away from these wonderful professionals
mhm,
who know how to set the f stop and blah 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 blah. Stuff like
yeah,
that. So I had
yeah,
one high school
exactly.
class. Yeah. Hmm.
I'm impressed
Nice.
that you know what f-stop is because I
One
immediately
semester, Truman High School. Yeah.
I immediately thought of this book. Like, that's an f-stop, right?
F stop this house. There you go.
That's what I'm going to start substituting if I ever don't want to say the f-bomb because I don't want to, offend anybody. I'm just going to say the f-stop.
Clean for
Man,
the office.
f-stop this house.
I'm gonna need that because we live in my childhood home, which was built in 1978. And honestly, I went for a walk this morning. I would have just sat on my butt the whole morning, except that my husband was like on his way to work, and friggin' like cabinet doors kept falling off. One in the bathroom, one in the kitchen. We know this. It's like we haven't fixed it, and it's like, oh, he's gonna start ragging on my house again. I'm gonna go take a walk. I don't want to hear it. But
Well,
yes, cabinet
that's,
doors are falling off.
you
There's a
know
hole
what?
in the shower. Yeah.
My doors are starting to fall off as a person too. It happens.
Yes. Oh, now that's a beautiful metaphor.
Yeah.
That sounds like, you know what that sounds like to me? I majored in German, and if you get into other languages even just a little, you'll get great slang about how they describe someone as being insane. I don't know if you're supposed to use that word anymore, but I still use it. I'm 47 and it's part of me. But anyway,
I
it's like
still
in
say
German.
spastic. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
guess it's
can't
not
help
politically
it.
correct now,
We
but
If you're from the UK, we are so sorry. Spastic is like wound into our
mhm,
childhood like playground talk and stuff like
that was
that.
an
And so
80s thing. Don't be a spaz.
yeah, and there's a song. People gonna think you're all spaz from like the 60s. And like, here's the deal. Okay, my very first collection of poetry that I released on Amazon is called Ordeal in French Lipstick. And for years, well, I mean, the couple of years that I was, or year or whatever, that I was like, I'm gonna release this. It's gonna be called Spastic in French Lipstick. And like a week before, I was like, I saw something that was like considered offensive. I don't even know why I looked it up, not to see if it was considered offensive, because that would not have crossed my mind. But there are ties to like unkind language for describing people with disabilities and things like
Mhm.
that. And also and as I age by the moment, I'm like, do we still say disabilities? What do we say? Differently abled? And so I'm so scared of misstepping. But so I changed it to ordeal, which also describes it. But
Mhm.
spastic is a little bit more of what I was, but in the American sense of being like, I'm having an easy time wrangling my emotions and
Yeah.
I'm popping off, and things like that. So
Oh yeah.
sorry if that's offensive.
Pete
I'm
Kelly
so sorry.
says they used to, because Pete Kelly is from the UK. He
Yes.
said they used to use spaz as an insult, which I think
Well,
we did
we
too.
kind of did. We would say
But
it was like a way to regulate your playground friends. Quit spazzing. You're being a
mhm,
spaz. Just
yeah,
calm down, basically.
yeah.
So, but it
But
wasn't. And if anybody called me a spaz, it was almost an affectionate It
Mhm.
seemed like almost an affectionate way to tell your friend to calm down,
Yeah.
unless somebody you didn't know said it and they said it unkindly, which
And
never
it's
happened to me.
it's a good word because it rhymes with jazz. I mean, we like the
It
Z
does.
sound, I
We
think.
do. We might have, like, had some jazz going on in our country, and
Yeah.
we might be into it a little bit, and
Pete says it was always coupled with a facial expression when you made it. But see, and
Oh, no.
that's where I
Yeah.
think it's the intention because,
Mhm.
and I don't know
Mhm.
if you've heard about all the fallout with all the conventions, but
Mm-mm.
there was, and I'm not going to name names or I'm not making any judgment here because I
Mm-mm.
was not there for
Mhm.
any of these events. But there was in the Nebulas, there was somebody that was actually up for an award with the Nebulas, and she introduced somebody as colored,
Oh,
which,
yeah. Outdated
yes, that is
language.
a very outdated term, but it was
Mhm.
considered a racial slur, and she was
Mm.
kicked out of the whole convention.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Once
doesn't
again,
ring nicely nowadays.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah, and so I don't know what the context was or
Mm-mm.
anything. It's not a word I would have chosen to use,
No. Me
but
neither.
that's the thing. And so, you do kind of go, oh, well, what word?
Mhm.
Obviously, she didn't think it was a bad word, or she
Right.
would not have used it. So, what words might I use that might
Mhm.
be not good? You know what I mean? Like that's what it makes me
Yes.
think. And then it
Yeah.
happened, I want to say 3 more times, 3 different conventions, a big deal with somebody said the wrong thing. And so, and I was like, well, my reaction at that time as being a non-judgmental was not at any
Right.
of these. I have no horse in this race. I don't know what was said. But my reaction was, well, I'm just not going to speak anymore because
I know.
I say
Oh, yeah.
bad stuff all the time, probably. You know what
Probably.
I mean? And then
Yeah.
I thought to myself, but it's the intention. Like
Yeah.
Pete is saying, if you
Yeah.
say spaz and you do the face and you're trying
Uh,
to make it an insult, but you can do that's like dog language. You can say like good boy, but you say it like good boy. They know what you're really saying. And I
they
kind of
do.
hope that we can get back to that intention of
Yes.
how do you mean it? If I say you're a
Right.
spaz and I'm just like, Amy, you're such a spaz.
I mean, like, girl, I am. I
Yeah,
am,
I
honey.
am also a spaz.
Because of the way we mean it and think of it, and
Mhm,
it's a different.
yeah. And that's
Ooh,
a whole
it's a
thing.
minefield.
Everybody knows those passive aggressive people that are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you don't look so fat today. That's
Yeah.
incredible."
Oh my
You know,
God.
yeah, just call me a bad name with a smile and keep the veiled nasty comments whatever.
So refined. I
Yeah.
know. It's just like, yeah. And yeah, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings is
Mhm.
the thing that I want to get across. I'm not willfully using terms that are outdated or some people could interpret as unkind. Oh my goodness. So please, if anybody ever needs to call me on anything that is glaring, just know that I didn't,
Mhm.
I was being as kind as I knew how to be in that moment, but I will take any information that that
Yeah.
might be useful if it's delivered in a kind way. If it's delivered in an unkind way, I'm liable to like emotional problems.
Oh, yeah. Oh, if I say something unkind, you're gonna know it. There's probably
Right.
something being thrown at you at the same time. You will know that
Right.
I am not
Yeah,
happy.
I'm just thinking if someone takes that as an opportunity to correct me in an unkind way, it's going to have the opposite effect. It's
Mhm.
going to make me feel rebellious. I'm sorry
Yeah.
about that. I'm 47. I should improve myself. But please know that I have improved myself and I used to be even more of a friggin' mess. And so, sorry, I
Oh,
said
me too.
friggin'.
Me
Yeah,
too.
but yeah,
But it's how
we're
you
slowly
said
improving.
friggin' that matters.
I was friggin' at myself. I was, promise.
I I'm
So,
gonna just put a disclaimer out right now.
yeah,
This is my official disclaimer. When I say something that insults you, I do
yeah.
not mean it,
No,
and
heart
I
of
am
gold,
trying to operate in love,
Angela.
and go ahead and
Same.
call me out on it, and I will apologize.
Yep. Yep.
But I'm gonna
But
say
I still,
when because
yeah,
I'm sure it's gonna happen.
I know. Yeah, same. Same here. Oh my gosh, can't believe I just started a podcast. Amy, what are you doing? What are you doing, girl?
Unleashing the words.
I have
Nina
11
says,
listeners, and so far they've all been very kind. I'm estimating 11. It might be 7. It might be 12. I don't know.
I'm gonna go listen to it, even though I have confessed to you that I have a hard time taking in
Right.
audio information. So I will listen to it and I will probably glaze over. So please no tests, but
That's
I will
okay.
listen
Oh
to
no,
it.
no. Here's the thing. Here's what I know about life. I release things out there and I never quiz anybody on them because I'm not perfect about, studying people's stuff or remembering it. As like I gave my sister 2 of my poetry books for her birthday, and here is why. We don't have any money. I had those. And it was something I could sort of like put it off as like I made her some food things too. There are certain things I always make her for her birthday, like coffee ice cream from the Nigella Lawson recipe and pecan butter and stuff like that. And I was like, here's these 2 books. They make the box look pretty. And she's like, oh yeah, but am I going to quiz her? Am I going to be like, did you read those yet? No, I don't care if she never reads them. I needed to make it. So that's how I live my creative life. It is out there. Look at it if you want. I am quizzing no one because I don't make any assumptions about. Yeah, that might not be for you. It's okay. I can dig that.
Nina has a really good comment. She said, "Words are collections of letters. How you intend it carries the meaning. The word isn't derogatory." And that's, I totally. Right. You can take an insult from anything.
Yes, you can. When I worked at okay, quickly, I'm going to just say this and then maybe I'll read Nina's poems since we've been talking about every day. But I will say that when I was in college, I worked at the college radio station. Here were my 2 extracurriculars, okay? Campus Crusade for Christ, KCOU radio, which was college radio, which was people who liked, music of the world. It was the 90s. I loved it. But every time I said anything, would construe it. Now, I don't know if they're like, Amy goes to Campus Crusade for Christ, let's mess with her. Okay. I might have been a little not good at that knowledge. Every time I said anything, they would instruct me that was a sexual innuendo. And so that I started really censoring myself then at like the age of 18 or 19. I was like, okay, if I say this, is it going to be, and then when years later, my little boy is learning to talk and he'll say something and I'll be like, well, now, he just said ho, 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 but he only said 1 ho. Should I tell him? That? Should I censor him? So there's like this like internal monologue always going.
Oh my goodness.
Was that sexy? I don't know. And now I don't care unless, I accidentally say it in front of my kid and then I'm like, he's 16, but he doesn't need to hear that from his old mother,
I wish that we had been younger, like at that time, because when I said things, it was meant to be a sexual innuendo, no matter what. We would have made a great team,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
Amy, I love Jesus. Like... Angela, I love some Jesus.
You how that could be construed, girly girl. Yeah. So Amy got an education.
Yeah.
And but those people, I will tell you, the people at KCOU, the radio station, I found them to be much fun, heart of gold, a lot of them nicer than the people I knew at, forgive me, the Jesus group. I mean, I love these people, and so I want you to know that I was not judging them. I was like, they were a lot of fun to be around and they were educating me so I wouldn't, trip up, I suppose. Cause I would hear it and be like, oh my gosh, you're right. That sounded like really like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so
I
was just a wide-eyed innocent. All right. We have a poem from Nina.
Yay! I love Nina's poetry.
I really do too. And she sent us some really meaningful poems that, from like just deep things in her life that have affected her. And so I'm going to go ahead and read Drifting. I'm like, where are my glasses? Oh dear. Okay, there they are. Found them. Drifting. Shallow drifting on purple dreams, sliding into darker shadows. My hair spread about me, a crown floating on the water. Your eyes glitter the moonlight. My hand caresses, you nuzzle my shimmering wing. Warmth, loving, caring. The sweetness tinges our midnight breeze. Your gaze steady, hand pressing gently upon my throat. Tears fall in muted silence. Wavering vision through flooded eyes. My final breath, your unending sigh. Hair spread about me, a crown floating underwater. Your eyes glisten, pain and repose. Shallow drifting on purple dreams, sliding deeper, lost in the ever to ebony shadows. Nina Darkangela.
Wow.
Beautiful. Drifting.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
That is.
So
Nina
much
also
visual.
Really, seriously, a lot of beautiful glitter and water. I love the water and the hair spreading.
Yeah.
And
And the moonlight in the eyes, very beautiful pictures.
Yeah, beautiful work, Nina. She sent me a prose version as well. I may save that, with your permission, Nina, for Third Sunday poetry. It's prose, but it's a prose version of the poem, and then that way we can maybe kind of give everybody a chance to have some. So yeah,
beautiful.
All right. Thank you. Yes.
Well, I guess on that note, we should do some poetry since it's cake and. Well, we don't make any promises, really, do we? We just say cake and Hyperbull.
There's just going to be cake and Hyperbull. I have no cake because that's life, but there's a cake picture on the wall over there. There's a cake art around.
And I'm fasting, so I'm thinking about cake.
Yeah. When I used to do I did the whole 30 for 11 days just to see. I don't know why I did it. I was in Texas and I was bored and boring and blah. And so I would dream literally about pancakes. I'm like, oh, I had another pancake dream last night. And so really the whole 30 was not for me. What's for me is eat what you want, just not a whole bunch of the stuff that, is going to sugar you up, because then that does not do my body good. But anyway, yes. Thank you for sending poetry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was beautiful. I love Nina's poetry. And
I do too.
I love it. Well, I think one of my favorite things is when people send poetry and they're like, well, this may not be great. And it is.
And we're like, oh, we're so inspired by that. Yeah, exactly. Please know that I always end up sort of studying the poems and being like, oh, I just love how they, on all of the ones that we get, there's a lot that people have to offer that I really appreciate.
So this is open invite. Anybody wants us to read poetry. We were trying to do where people came in and read, and it was a little bit complicated. So now Pete sends videos of him reading. You can also do that, and we'll share that, which is a really easy way to manage that, because you may have noticed we don't really have a lot of solid plans here. It's not a very structured. This is very unstructured, eclectic. Spastic,
that's right.
Even, but with a smile.
Spastic, if you will. Yeah, that's right. Spastic with a smile. Oh my gosh, there's a t-shirt right there.
Stab magnets and spastic with a smile.
That's right.
But yeah, so go ahead and send those either to Amy or to me. We're super happy to share them. It gives us something to do besides obsessively look at our own lives, So
yeah, I love to it's like Helen Phillips and the read a poem, write a poem every day. Man, when you are getting poetry from other people, it just builds into you, and it just gives you more of a view of the world,
that. Spastic eyebrows is still an obsessive thing with me, because I think I still have to write that poem.
It's tragic eyebrows. That's going to be my next podcast episode. But I'm sorry, spastic eyebrows is going in the notebook, girl. Okay, with a smile. All right.
So this is the demonstration, right?
Eyebrows. Oh, yes. Okay, well, I refer you also to 1980s Blixa Bargeld. His are shaped like lightning bolts or something. So,
I wonder if I could do that.
That
I've got
poem,
pretty thick.
You could.
I actually have to trim my eyebrows with scissors, because I've got the Gandalf thing going on, and they actually they go all the way around here if I just let no unibrow, but definitely I got the eyebrow.
That sounds kind of hot, Angela. I don't know. I am
not poor in eyebrows. I do maintain them
for me.
I will let them. They grow out of little tufts, so I will maybe let a tuft. Let this one kind of.
My husband's nickname is Sunshine because he's got big Austrian eyebrows. He's American, but his heritage is Austrian, and they're so big and they look mean, and so I'm like, oh, Sunshine, because he's just like my father in the sense that they can both sit there and they have resting, whatever you call it with guys face, resting face, and if they're sitting there thinking, and I'm like, hey, dad, or whatever, when I was a kid, my dad would be like, yeah, it's just they don't know, they look like that, and Jason's that way just like Sunshine because of your face. But anyway, I love eyebrows. I love them. I love them. The end.
That's
tragic
funny.
Eyebrows. Next episode of Podcast in A Minor. I just changed the title, so I have to remember. But that's the next one. They're always based on a silly little song I wrote. And tragic Eyebrows.
Cake and Hyperbull was just a weird statement that we made, and then this happened.
right? I was always writing poetry about cake, and Angela was confiding that she had as a child, was a
Well, as an
solo sort
adult,
of
we
like,
can be honest.
well, you were like an isolated reader, like as a child. So sometimes you would get words but not hear them pronounced. And so you were like, well into adulthood, I said hyperbull instead of hyperbole. And so we were like, why did we do that? We were like, let's put them together, cake and hyperbull. That's going to be our poetry show, because we
Yep.
were just doing third center. Oh, and it happened. Our dream
Yeah.
came true.
And you know what, though?
So, yeah.
This is, and I'm going to play Pete's video right
Yes.
after I say this last thing. One more thing.
One more thing.
This is why we must question authority, because I've gone
Mhm.
for years saying hyperbole instead of hyperbole. Nobody ever called me on it. Everybody would just, I think they would be like, oh, I've never heard of that word. I don't know what that word means.
That's probably
No,
what.
I was saying it wrong. Correct me. But yeah, so
Language
we
is
don't have
fluid.
to trust each other. Yeah, language is
Yeah.
fluid.
It's fluid, changing all the time.
Oh yeah, and the Haipoo thing. Anton's in chat reminded me a whole book, which is behind me. I'm going to grab it.
Oh, I
in
gotta get
just-
that book.
I'm going to grab it when we're watching Pete's video here in a second. But yeah, we were taught, we had one of the open mic events, and we for some reason decided to write haiku instead of haiku. So haiku about poop, which wound up being a thing. And then yeah, Anton kind of ran with it and put together a whole book of haiku. And I have that book. I am proud to say I am in that book. It was an honor to write haiku with that man. So,
amen.
Yeah, and we were actually justified. We found out after the fact that Japanese had already done it. That's a form. I don't think they call it haiku, but there is haiku about defecating and so on. So
the Japanese, they have defined everything that is important, and they have a word for it, and they pay attention to it, and they talk about it, and thank you God. That's just all I have to say.
I'm going to play Pete's video, but I will end that by saying we live in a wonderful, wonderful world where we can write poetry about poop and have it be published. Now that I've destroyed any kind of reputation I've had.
Just hold up that Stoker, those two Stokers real quick.
I had no credibility in the first place. I claim no credibility.
Same. All right, let's have Pete.
Here is Pete Kelly reading The Ghost. This is on YouTube. I'll actually put the links, if I can remember, in the chat, or please, anybody else, feel free to promote yourself in chat. Whatever you want to share. This is literally what we're doing here, is trying to promote other poets and poetry in general. And here is Pete. And I'm going to mute and grab the Haipoo book.
The Ghost. With eyes sewn shut, just weeping sores, she whirls hereabout like a wind-taken wrapper. Teased by whisperings, a cruel sea's jape, held she is to the pier by hope so desperate. A mother to be, lovingly caressing the swelling fruit of a love destined. He was an outsider, cursed by all but one, birthed a disturbance in minds of cast iron. Growing anger matured into rage fully fledged, meting out a judgment from imaginings dredged. Pursued by a frenzied mob, torches raised in rapture, twisted shadows bay for blood, stringing him up on capture. A grim depth of punishment for the betrayal of one, to take away expression, for no tears shall run. Imparting the fate of her love with such torturous glee, ostracized in blindness, to fall below the sea. With eyes sewn shut, just weeping sores, still she will search when the pier is no more. Thank you.
Wow. I'm going to be thinking about those weeping sores in the eyes. I'll be thinking about that. Okay, I can't hear you, Angela. Is it just mine or oh, are you muted? Okay.
I said all the intelligent stuff already. Sorry.
She said it. Sorry, the moment is over, everyone. She's not one to belabor a point. That's just how it is.
Sorry. Yes, that would be good to unmute. I was just saying that
Devastating.
I'm a little jealous of Pete because his presentation and his poetry, I wish I could read like that. You know,
I love his spooky imagery. Oh golly, it's like I'm gonna think about that ghost with the like weeping sores for eyes.
yeah.
I love it. I love the mood. That's
Yeah.
like the mood that I like is haunted movies from the 30s, kind of you know, stuff like that, or the Victorian stories.
Yeah, very visual, stark. Oh, you know, I forget that I can share these comments. I actually don't have to read these.
Oh, hey, all right.
So
yes, love the drama with yes, wonderful.
Yeah.
It's performance. Yeah, I do love how Pete performs as well.
yeah. So yeah, well done, Pete. And then I've got another one from him, but I'm going to save it and we'll kind of like piece it out. That way we don't, you know, save.
Yes.
We have something to look forward to as well.
We kind of have a little contrast and variety in the stuff. And I'm going to choose one from Jim. I think I'll save the next one for third Sunday. And if Jim, if you watch this and you have more to send them, and we'll just like read 3 or whatever. I just feel bad because I've been like really gabbing a lot. So, all right. Friend of the show, Jim Hill, has written one called Here, Not Here. I'm not here any more than I'm not there. Space is nothing, nor is the thing taking up space, filling it with arrogant intent, content in its privilege of limitless expanse. Thank you, Jim. I always love Jim's sort of language play. There's a lot of looking at language. It's like that's something that happens when I'm writing songs sometimes. Is I'll write a verse, I'll forget the words, I'll change them to other similar words. It's like when you can kind of like spin off of words. I think Jim does that very well. I'm going to save the next one for the next time because I've got one more from another.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's kind of a theme of the people that tend to gravitate towards Cake and Hyperbull and this little whatever we're doing. That seems to be like the thing is we all just love language, you know, and playing with language and seeing how far we can take it, darkness, lightness, you know.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Since we are supposed to be reading poetry, this is the Haipoo 7 Poospectives in Poetry from the Doo-Doo Crew, which consisted of these are haiku. I'll just read the back because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Why are you reading this? These are haiku about poop by astounding poets like Sarah Hans, Kate Ingram, Jesse Wolf, Connor Muddyman, Donna J.W. Monroe, Yuriko Smith, and Anton Kanker. You already know, or not if you want to read it. Just give us your money. You'd flush it down the toilet anyways.
Oh, lay it on me. I gotta hear one.
All right. And so they are all haiku. So they're shorter. So, and we're identified by our initials. So, shat myself in fear. Serial killer repelled. No stinky prey play. When that was my response to if I had a serial killer after me. Oh, here's one that I felt was rather inspiring. Writers collect crap, spread it on paper to rot, and plant it with words. So, but there is if you would like some bite-size entertainment while you are doing your business, Haipoo 7 Poospectives in Poetry. Or, I'm sorry, Pooetry. So,
and a book of poetry about like bathroom business. Bathroom. That is brilliant.
That is classy. I mean, it doesn't get more classy and matchy than that.
Poetry, bring it to the bathroom. That's just, it needs to be everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, so I actually have to order a bunch of these, and I'm going to get you one. I will gift you a Pooh book. But yeah, that is on my list. I was going to order right before StokerCon, and then the world blew up, and I'm just now going, wait, where am I? This is at 12? We're supposed to be doing this at 2? What?
You just dropped out of a plane, and you're a little bewildered. Yeah, you know,
that sums it up very well. Bewildered.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear it.
So
Nice.
what else do you have to read?
I have one by Corey Can called Indifference Settles Like a Setting Sun. Sun is spelled S-O-N in that title.
Okay.
So it is a family relating type of situation.
And
Indifference.
Corey's
Yeah.
new, right? We haven't heard from Corey before.
I believe we first heard from Corey when we had National Poetry Month in April, and he sent in a poem, and then he sent this one a couple of weeks later. He was so excited that we'd read it. People are wonderful in their excitement for having their poetry read, because I think a lot of us do poetry for certain amounts of time, like in secret, and then when you realize, oh, you know what, it's worth reading, it's worth being read. And so he sent another one, and when I said, ooh, can I read it at the third Sunday, he kind of missed the message. He saw it, was driving, forgot to answer it, and then it was like the same day or the day before. So I was like, I will read it at Cake and Hyperbull. And so, yeah, he is newer to our contributors. We have people who contribute kind of regularly, but always National Poetry Month kind of brings new people in because I kind of harp on, ooh, send me your poetry. Which I would do more if I wasn't doing like too many other things that are different. You know, I should stick to one thing, but I can't. So, okay.
You know what? That's part of your charm. You have a lot of pots going.
Well, thank you. I'm spinning my plates on the Ed Sullivan Show. All right. From Corey Can, Indifference Settles Like a Setting Sun. Shall I try and be forgiven? Laying in my room near the Pacific Sea, time freely swallows tears of marigolds that fall from swaying, rotting trees. Must stones be laid in place of my steps, in my head full of tomorrow, with today still at store? Or shall I forgive my enemies, in hope of a place where thoughts flow, in a place where thoughts are prayers, cheap printed in forms of plastic, waiting to degrade like rust near the beach? I too will come and fight each wave, but tomorrow be ever so forgiving, and relieve me to the thoughts of my grave, a microwave in the sun, unplugged and cracked. Timer is in utmost confusion, and my head already assigned to its grave.
Oh, wow.
Also great imagery. Man, the tears of marigolds. When I read that the first time, I was like, Corey. And then it just keeps going from there. It just keeps unraveling to beautiful images, but also, you know, deep stuff, like some painful stuff. And
I feel really lucky because we really have some outstanding poets that send us work in and hang out with us and find us, give us their time and everything. So
we get to read it. And so I'm grateful for that as well. That's pretty awesome. All right. What more is there?
I was going to share the link to the Haipoo book, so I will get to that, or it will be in this description.
Right.
But I will read one from Ladies of Horror, which is Nina Darkangela's Ladies of Horror group, a prompt contest, or well, not really a contest, a prompt challenge where she sends us photos and we write a poem about the photo. So here is my photo. I love doing this. Yeah. And even if for some reason it has to discontinue or anything, I would still do this.
Same here.
We could even do that here on Cake and Hyperbull, like challenge each other and challenge people to send us their, poem or whatever. And it's called an ekphrastic when you write a poem or a prose about a piece of art, usually visual, but I don't think that has to be. Right. So the coolest ideas come from that because it causes you to think outside the box. So even just practice, I will say this is awesome. And I've been doing it with Nina for a few years now. So I've got enough of these things stacked up that I could probably do a collection of these, like the LOH, But I always love how they turn out. So this is the picture I got, I think, for last month. And so the poem I caught it. It was floating around and I caught it and put it on paper.
Muses. Yeah. Dropped it. Yep.
It was called Divine Purpose. And so this is that poem. And so thank you, Nina, for doing this because it's always so much fun.
It is.
So Divine Purpose. He hangs in the sky, disappointment and regret, vaporous exhales of luminous green and serpentine violet obstructing the stars. The world egg he guards, the final act of his love, his lover's last wish. Nestled in the stars and swaddled in nebula, warmed by the sun flares, beneath the ocean's amniotic lava flows, nourishing his whelp. His eye fixated as he spins in retrograde, in observation. He waits for the day the earth crust will burst apart and release his sun. Nothing will be left. Now, having served its purpose, Gaia dies at birth. I should probably preface that they are supposed to be horror poems or horror acrostics.
Oh, that is good stuff. It was very poetic, and it was like a whole horror movie, but danced in beautiful language.
Yeah.
A little bite.
Oh, and Anton says he put the Haipoo link in chat. So if you want to find that link, scroll up. I definitely recommend that book. It's not shitty poetry, but it is shitty poetry.
No, if that's the subject matter, but not the quality of the work, which is way up there, and just such a unique. I mean, come on, guys, unique. I should give one to like my in-laws for Christmas.
I will hook you up. I was actually going to say that when you said you give away your poetry books as gifts, because it's we have them. And we should exchange poetry books. And you could be like, look at the book I got you from this great poet. And then I could be like, oh, look, this is signed from Amy, da, 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 da.
And just tell that places. That's kind of the fake it till you make it thing, where it's like, I would always like write later poems about how I was like, oh, you know who my favorite poet is the Beatnik housewife, which was like my sort of pseudonym 10 years ago, and whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so irrepressible and she's got such a foul mouth, and stuff like that, and it's just like your spread rumors become huge, right? Yeah.
Oh, too funny.
Okay, I've got one to read. In the, I think, most recent episode of the podcast that I started, the Hello Chuckling Vampire Part 2 episode of now what is called no longer Aggressive Euphoria, but now it's called Podcast in A Minor. See, I'm forgetting the words to my songs. I read this poem, but while I read it, it's about a dream I had, and I wrote it just as the dream occurred, and I read it in the podcast, and as I was listening back to the podcast to make sure that I didn't like forget anything that I meant to like clip of things, or if I said something like way off, or something, I listened to it and I thought, oh my gosh, I should rewrite the ending. I should so rewrite. It's like I've fallen in with horror people, and now I want this like creepy ending thing. So I'm gonna just I rewrote.
One of us.
You've done it. Hooked me. So I'm gonna reread Dreamsville number 7 remix werewolf poem. Even though it was a vampire episode, it fit in somehow. Go check it out. You'll figure it out how that works. Okay, Dreamsville number 7, the remix. In the werewolf dream, we sat around the apartment knowing, reading fairy tales to postpone the dread. We sat around the apartment knowing and dreading the transformation. I'm scared, I admitted, whispery, the pale, colored, swirling borders of the fairy tale book ever present at the corner of my eyes. I'm scared too, he said. In the werewolf dream, I bundled up the baby against the winter night and left ahead of the transformation. We agreed it was best. In the werewolf dream, my baby's socks fell off in the snow of the blackest black-topped parking lot, nearly empty, vast, ponderous, very tall streetlights. I couldn't find my car. I could only think, his cold little feet. The authorities will take him away from me. In the werewolf dream, blessedly, we somehow arrived at Macy's department store, and I was instantly calmed by the soft music and perfumed influence of retail. In the werewolf dream, I clutched my baby-slinged baby in the Macy's elevator, empty but for us, and a teenaged elevator operator. We will eat him, yes we will, I cooed to my barefooted baby as we ascended to the rooftop, and he growled a delighted baby's laugh in return, his naked little toes already warming in their speedy growth of fur. So in the dream, we just escaped to the rooftop, but I thought, why didn't I make the mother and baby the friggin' werewolves? That is hilarious. So anyway.
I like that. I love that.
I love the idea of my little baby being, oh no. Now that's turning the thing that scares you on its head. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The therapy of horror.
Yes.
Yeah, I love when you say the perfumed, I don't remember the phrase, but you talk about like, department
Perfumed
store.
influence of retail.
Yeah, or comfort of retail. Yeah, and I was like, that
Right.
really describes it. You know, that is a
Yeah.
feeling. You go to the store and you buy something, and it makes you happy for that moment.
It's kind of like there. So I have revealed that my phobia. Please never use it against me, anybody. Is vomit,
I will
and
never use that
so
against you.
raising a child, right? You encounter it. Raising 4 children. Oh my gosh, I would have joined the circus and run away. But there would always be these seasons like, okay, I weaned him when he was 2, so he threw up every month, right? I sent him to all day school when he was 5 or 6, so he threw up every month. And I remember, oh my gosh, he had thrown up every month. It was horrible. And a Thanksgiving night, he was like throwing up. And I'm like, you know what I'm going to go do? I said to my husband, because it was always such an ordeal for me, but I always insisted on handling it because my parents were always so kind and chaotic about it. They just let it happen anywhere. And I was like, I could just put a basin in front of him. I could, and I will, but not tonight. I'm going to the all night shopping thingies. I'm just getting out of here. And I walked into Macy's, which was just not that far from us. And I was like, nothing bad can happen to me here. Hear that music and look at those earrings. Nobody's going to throw up. If they do, it's not my problem. So,
Yeah, I'm going to walk away. That's
so
what
like
sport people are
directly
for.
from that. Yes, exactly. Directly from that life
Oh,
experience.
that's too funny. That is too funny.
Oh man.
I'm really glad, honestly, we didn't know each other as teenagers because we used to have this game that we would play that I will very lightly touch upon, so I do not horrify you.
It's okay. I think you're going to say the Keith Moon thing, that what Keith Moon used to do on underground trains. I'm going to throw up. I'm going to be sick. I mean it.
And the soup.
Oh no, he just did it into a bag, like with the vocals. But you would use soup.
Yeah, we had somebody would, because we were all punk rockers, so we all had all the stuff, you know. And one of us would have a can of cream of mushroom soup opened, kind of hidden, and then you would be on an elevator, elevator or someplace. You'd be like, oh, that person, whoever got to do it. Oh, I'm so sick. Oh, bruh. But then the rest of us would pull out spoons. And we would start scooping it off the floor. So it was like
art.
Yeah. Yeah. Why did we get kicked out of all those malls? I wonder.
I would have, my friend, if I had been in that elevator, I don't know. I would have relived it. Every time anybody, like, I see that act, I'm like, my mind replays it like this horror movie. And I'm like, you know, it just all has to do with the fact that I grew up in a house of 3 other people who all like their bodies. That was their vulnerable point. That is how everybody responded to everything. And everybody had motion sickness except me. But I was so all the time. I should have been better at it, but it was just the wiring, you know.
Yeah, we all have our things. I think I've shared my phobia so that we're on equal ground. A wet Band-Aid. I drank Ipecac syrup just to see what it would do to me on purpose as a kid. It's very painful. I do not recommend it. Don't do it. Like, just live off of my wisdom of do not do that. But a wet Band-Aid.
Yeah. I want to just say here's an Ipecac public service announcement. Okay, that's what took Karen Carpenter out. If it is meant to be used in a one-time emergency, or like not very often, right? Like, she used it as a way of eating and getting rid of it, and it dissolved her heart muscle. That's what it does. So everybody, use wisdom with Ipecac. I didn't even keep it in my house. I'm like, I'm just going to keep everything locked up when I've got a small child. And he was not. If he'd been a more like adventurous and into stuff kid, I would have had it. But he was not. He was like close to mom, slow mover. You know, easy. Oh, I had it so easy. I realize.
It's a wonder I'm alive. Sometimes when I think I was a child that was like, this says it will cut my finger off. Let's see.
That is like, I have a niece. I have a niece and a nephew like that, and I'm just like, the Lord knew.
Yeah.
What could be handled and what could not.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, what do you got? I'm going to play Pete because, as usual, we're running out of time. We try to keep this at an hour to respect everybody's time, but we are gabbers about poetry.
We are what we are.
Yeah, exactly. So this is Pete. Again, this is The Collector. And yes, just sit back, relax, and prepare to hear the gorgeous accent and dulcet tones of Pete Kelly.
Yes.
The collector. A massing of unnatural weather silences the twilight chattering. Creatures feel an air of corruption, hunter and prey alike left quivering. Along a snaking highway hurtling, a horse-drawn hearse beplumed, sways wildly, disobeying all sense, but never letting go of the road. Hooves pound the soft ground. Amongst themselves nags nicker, whinnying pleasure at each whip strike, dealt with feverish glee from the driver. Atop the coach, like a preacher possessed, eyes wild as a storm overhead, beneath the crooked stovepipe hat blazes a countenance bearing dread. Fashioned he was by a people for disposing of human detritus, a consequence of their fervency in keeping a town unblemished. Birthed into lowly orphanage, so were his parents a stain. With the ruin of a child's mind, a loyal servant was made. Now, where a man once hung from an old gnarled tree, a noose now lazily swings in a cool night's breeze. Reaching out a cold grey finger, the rope's sway he ceases. Fury flashes across his mind's sky. A howl from the depths he releases. All was as it should have been, for he had collected one other. She by the pier the sea had claimed, upon hearing of her hanged lover. Retreating to his sanctuary, materialized from his seclusion, a fantasy soon to swell with his new-found companion. Rage melts from warm greetings within this reality he constructs, for arranged all about, silent and still, sit the corpses of the town's rejects. They who raised him loathe him as an evil of necessity. He serves them, emulates them, in creating his own family. Thank you.
Ooh. That was like, is that called back to the last one, the woman who was, who drowned because of her hanged lover and stuff, but also classic Pete mood. Okay, don't forget to unmute, my friend.
I are professional.
I'm here for you. I got your back. This is technology we're talking about. I have an unfair advantage where I don't get muted while that's happening. So
yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I actually, every time I listen to him and see the visuals and the voice and the content, I always feel very satisfied afterwards. Like I have eaten something wonderful, like a lot of savory mental savor there.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot to kind of go back to in your mind, and you get this real complete, story that winds up and
like Nina says, brutally gorgeous.
Yeah, so, there we go.
Yeah,
we're fans.
Yeah, we like Pete a lot. We like Nina. Anton, send us some poetry and we'll read it. And then James, send us some poetry, and SPOFEST will be in the links. Yeah, so we lucky. We are blessed with poetry.
We really are. Nice stuff. Well, yeah, I guess we can kind of wind it up if we want to here.
Yeah,
to think if I had
we
anything.
did our hour, which, like we said, we try to keep it at an hour. We try.
We do.
I think the original ones, though, we were going on like 2 or 3 hours,
Oh,
right?
yeah, especially when we were doing Third Sunday Poetry, which we just called live poetry then because we only did the one show. But that's our Instagram one on the third Sunday of the month. So we will be back at 2:00 on the third Sunday. But yeah, we would go for 2.5 hours sometimes because we
Easy.
had it was the pandemic. I mean, we started that in August of 2020. So we were in the pandemic. We were working at the library, but the public like wasn't coming in. It was just drive through and shelving and so when we started doing that, never knowing what our fate was going to be with the pandemic and stuff, we just like had such a good time cutting loose, talking to each other, pretending we were in the same room. We were just across town from each other, but we were just like, we can't do it in person, you know.
And we had lost our poetry open mic that we had just started.
Yes.
Like, months before. I think we got to do like 3.
Yeah.
I think we did 4 total, and that was it. Boom.
Yeah.
Pandemic pulled the plug.
Yep, because I hadn't heard of it until the second one. And then like the last one that we went to, I was remembering was like something like March 11th of 2020. And I just remember there was this gal doing community service. She was like 14 or 15, and she was there to do the sign-ins and the stuff. You found a place for her because she had some kind of camp scholarship she was trying to get.
Oh,
and her mom was there, and her mom was like, well, you know, my older son goes to, you know, University of Missouri, and they just closed down because of the pandemic I think we probably called it coronavirus then. And we were like, really? Oh my gosh, this is actually serious. And the following Monday, this was a Wednesday, the following Monday it all shut down. So that we know, we haven't had it since. I mean, we don't work there anymore either, but we did told that, hey, we'll do it again if you want us. You know, we're kind of legit now because we've got like these live streams that we do.
We've been doing this. No more nervous stuttering while we hold the open mic, man. We got it.
Yeah, we got this. I want to say too, I'm going to release Electrified Corset collection of poetry on 15th. The 15th. I picked that date out of the sky and was like, because I'm sitting on poetry and I'm like, June 15th, why not? And so I'll do that. And if that's a wrong day for some reason, I should look and make sure it's not like, you know, a day of commemoration or anything like that. But I will definitely do that soon and just be able to get it on, and I'll put it on my Instagram and everything, and we'll talk about it the third Sunday because it should be out by then. So yeah.
Well, and what I would love to do, this is spur of the moment. Now, you know, I do the little interviews and the things.
Yeah.
Can I interview you? Like when you're releasing it? Come on.
I just don't know. Can I think of anything to say? That's my problem. Of course.
You are pretty quiet.
Kind of quiet. I'm a difficult conversationalist because you have to pull things out of me, wait through long, awkward silences.
Yeah, those monosyllabic answers are just, you know.
No.
Yeah, do you like poetry, Amy?
Yes. The end. Can you even imagine? That was ridiculous.
Now I want to do an interview like that. Like, Angela, what was your inspiration? Horror, dead people.
You know. I like it.
All right, let's plan that then. When you release that, let's have you on, do a little interview, have you do some reading.
I will wear a feather boa and a tiara. I don't have a feather boa, but I have a lot of tiaras.
I will find a feather boa for you.
Okay, all my jewelry at once. It's going to be fab. So be there, world, because it's coming. It's coming. I thought Amy was going to say, I can't read it because I'm old.
Oh, the Kraken.
The Kraken. Oh, but Electrified Corset. That's the one, right? Because I'm getting it mixed up with the one I'm going to release in August. So everybody just buckle up, okay? This one is a good, like, going nuts one again. Oh, and I still know that's probably not the right thing you're supposed to say, but
you know what?
I'm talking about myself.
Nina brought up earlier that is they choose to be here. So that all the people that are watching this are choosing our brand of whatever this is.
Nina has a way of just like bringing the truth in a way that just reassures me every time. Thank you, Nina. Thank you. I'm going to say that my mother, when I was a freshman in high school, and I know she wouldn't care if I shared this, you'll find out why. she's no longer living, but she wouldn't care because so she was inpatient for a couple of weeks. She like in mental institution. I think inpatient is kind of what they call mental health facility. And this was in the late 80s, and this was because of some childhood trauma that she had experienced. And she had, it was the 20th century. People didn't deal with that stuff until it dealt with them. And so she went inpatient for a few weeks. And so sometimes she would reference that later, and she'd be like, well, back when I was in the nut house, and then like use it as a preface for some story. And so I'm like, Mom, so game. She is like, like I was reading Charles Bukowski talking about some friend of his, and this was 20th century, so he's calling it, well, Elaine was in the mental ward. When Elaine was in the mental ward, blah blah blah, and it reminded me instantly of my mother. Well, when I was in the nut ward, blah blah blah, and I'm like, damn, she's got that story to tell, and she tells it. I'm like,
That is so awesome.
are the gal, and she was so meek and Christian and kind to everybody, but she got it home with the fact that she'd been in the nut ward.
That is so incredible.
What a
And
wonderful
it's,
gal.
really like getting rid of that stigma. That's what we're doing, like that mental health initiative that the HWA is doing. It's all about removing that stigma.
If that stigma had been removed sooner, she would not have had so many of the physical ailments that she'd had through my childhood, and almost died when I was in first grade of like a hemorrhaging ulcer, and stuff. It's like, that is so important. It was like she was claiming that. She's like, I am like making this not a shameful thing.
She was owning it. Yeah. Oh, super respect. And I'll say, like, I was institutionalized twice. I have just now gotten to where I can actually admit it, because before it was such a, just don't talk about
there
that.
was so
Ignore
much
it,
stigma. Yes. Oh my gosh. Oof.
Yeah. So good. Kudos to your mom. And you know what? That's probably, that's you. That is the influence of why you are so vivacious and authentic. And I just absolutely adore you.
Oh, and I adore you. Thank you. Angela is a heart of gold person, just a life affirming human being. I feel it in my bones.
That's because you don't hear all the dialogue that goes on in my head. I just keep my mouth shut to keep that illusion up.
Oh my gosh, I always think of like how when my husband and I are kind of passionate in every possible way. I won't go in. I will leave that to your imagination. But I will say that when we argue, we're yes, certainly so. But when we argue, it's also kind of passionate, and so we're like, okay. We've lived in 4 different cities just for job and school reasons and whatever. And I'm like, okay, this is the time when the neighbors are not going to find out how loud and horrible we sometimes occasionally are. This is the moment that, don't screw it up. Don't forget, we just moved here,
The neighbors say we're good people.
It is a challenge not to be so much of everything, in our lives. And so that's why everyone's like, wow, Amy's really nice. Amy is really nice when she's not having one of her moments. So, and same with my husband, It's great. But I tell you, sometimes we don't always agree, and that keeps it kind of exciting, but also loud.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I like to think that choosing to be good people is enough, not actually being a good people.
Yes. I mean, if you come from my faith, nobody's perfect but Jesus. So, nobody's perfect. It's not happening.
And I guess my faith would be like probably Taoism for the most part. Yeah. And that is, you are perfect as you are. The imperfection is the perfection, because that's what you got. So
exactly. And and my husband's a therapist. That's radical acceptance. It's like this, that wasn't what you planned, but what happened
what you got.
What was supposed to happen. Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's working okay. So
yeah, hey, you're up and upright and breathing, 9 times out of 10. So
well, chat has erupted in love for us. And we have love for chat.
We do.
And now that I've remembered that I can share comments again, that adds a whole new element of connectivity, I guess that's what you could call it. So, but
that's what I like.
Yeah,
excellent.
I think we should end on the good note here of like riding out the love.
Quit while we're ahead. No.
Yeah. Or before we know we're not ahead.
That's right. As long as we're happy with it.
While we are in this illusion of love. See, Anton gives us some love, and then follows it with the truth. and weirdos.
We
Very
would have it
true. Proud of it.
their way. That's
Yeah,
right.
we own it.
Exactly. That is
So,
us. Yep.
yeah, we will be back
That's
next month.
Yep.
At 2 p.m. CST, and this next one will actually be scheduled correctly. So we'll get a professional in there that actually knows what they're doing to do that. And I'm going to actually link it in the chat so you guys can find it real easy if you want to put on the reminder and make sure you don't miss it. It's been awesome having everybody here.
Yes.
We're going to do it on the third Sunday on Amy's Instagram, which is Hypness and Outrage.
Yep.
Which I think is already linked in the description. But I can't remember what I put last year. So, I mean, last month, which feels like last year.
Yeah, you have been globe-trotting, winning awards, making the world a better place, getting the poetry out there. Yes.
Getting the poetry out there. That's what it is all about.
I like that. I like that.
So,
yes. And amen.
All right. So, yeah, look for third Sunday on Amy's Instagram, Hypness and Outrage. Yep. Look in the chat for a lot of these links. I'll try to remember, what I said I was going to do. Go ahead and hold me to it and link it in the chat if you have something you want to link. This is open forum for everybody to promote yourselves, your poetry, whatever you want. I want to check out the thing that Anton was talking about. There is Donna Monroe is doing like a flash fiction poetry thing, which sounds good. SPOFEST will be linked. I can't think of anything else. Am I supposed to say anything else? I think I got it.
I don't think so. Here, I'll flash my little book there. Art Rays.
Yeah, go get Art Rays or deal in French lipstick. Amy is churning out the books. And on this Instagram channel, you can like and subscribe so you will see when we do the interview of her. And she will be unveiling Electrified Corset.
Yes, it's coming.
Which sounds like, honestly, like, I'm just going to say it's some kinky fun. So I expect kinky fun in this book.
There might be some. I have to think about it. There are things that I almost censored that I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what you're going to get. So
I figure my 10 readers will be very forgiving because they're good people. I like them.
Well, as one of those readers, I feel honored.
Oh. All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We will see you next month for Cake and Hyperbull. We will see you third Sunday for Hypness and Outrage Poetry Live. And at some point, you will see us for an interview talking about Amy's new book.
Don't miss it.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
And thank you for being.
Yes, thank you.